So I just got done at the gym not too long ago, and I'm coming up on the last 2.5 weeks of this diet. And after the 2.5 weeks is over, it's gonna be 6 whole months of aggressive dieting. I've been in a 1,000 plus calorie deficit for 6 long months almost. And I've been doing the same thing literally every day. I've been eating the same meals. Obviously the number gets lower as I lose more weight, but same meals, same training, and cardio has been going up as well. When I first started the diet, it was 20 minutes of Stairmaster and just getting 10K steps in. Now I'm getting still 10K steps, but I'm doing an hour and 10 minutes of incline treadmill. Now, when you tell it to the average person that you do that much cardio every single day, they just look at you like, how? The average person doesn't even go to the gym, but I'm doing an hour and 10 minutes of cardio just to diet down. And I've been doing it for a while now, actually. I've been doing it almost 2 months. Like, these last 2 months have just been 70 minutes. And there's no reason for it to go up anymore because, I'm right on track. I've lost over 40 pounds in these last 5.5 months. So it's going to be a total of 45 pounds lost in 6 months. And the only reason this happened, and the only reason I was able to stay strong for this whole time and not give up, was because I stopped thinking like my current self. When I was, 185 to 190 pounds, like, I was fat. All right, I was just fat. Like, you might not think that's like big. Like, I'm 6 foot. And 185 to 190, there's people out there that are lean. Like, I was fat. Like, I was just fat. Straight up. And when I was in that position, in that current self, there was no way that I would have, lost all this weight by thinking like that. Because I was just unhappy. I was under this mindset that, like, I'm young, the weight will just go away on its own and it'll turn into muscle or whatever. But you need to understand that way of thinking, like your current self of thinking, is a reason you are in the position, right? So when I was 100, let's just say 185 pounds, the way that I was thinking on a day-to-day basis led me to being fat. So in order for me to lose weight and finally get in shape and not be fat, I clearly had to change something up. Now, I was already having these visions of seeing myself with abs, seeing myself with veins, seeing more veins and just like bicep and definition. And just like I had these visions of myself that they were just gonna, happen at some point, but I didn't know how, I didn't know how long it was gonna take. I thought it was just like a bulk and cut type of thing. But then I started to ask myself, the things that I've been doing recently when I was 185 pounds, is that going to lead me to getting abs? The daily habits that I was doing, the junk food that I was eating on a daily basis, not doing any cardio, saying I'm just bulking and just eating whatever is like in sight. Was just eating a little bit less and doing a little bit of cardio gonna help me, get in shape? No, it wasn't. I clearly had to change something up. That's when I started to understand the reason why I was having these visions was because it was already going to happen at some point. I just had to start acting like that person. See, the reason why you are stuck in a position where you're not seeing any results is because you keep thinking like your current self. You're too comfortable. You have to think like your successful self. You have to think like that future vision of you. The vision that I had of myself with the abs, the person that was in shape, He was living a completely different lifestyle than the way I was living. He was tracking his food. He was focusing on getting stronger in the gym. He was focusing on his mindset, developing habits that he could stick to every single day. He started tracking all of his foods, tracking all of his lifts, drinking more water, moving more, doing more cardio, getting more steps in, being mindful of his eating. All these little small changes, I wasn't actually making them, but like I knew I had to make them because the successful version of me was making those changes. So that's exactly what I did. When I first started this diet, I started incorporating those small little changes that I knew I would be doing if I was in the shape that I wanted to be in. And now I'm living those habits. I track everything I eat. I track all of my exercises, and I actually go hard in the gym. I drink more water. I get more steps in. I do my cardio. And before I even do something new, and if I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, I'll just ask myself this question. Would the successful version of me do this? So I want you to ask yourself this question every time you want to basically understand if it's the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do. Would the successful version of yourself be doing those things? Because if you wouldn't, then you shouldn't do it. That's exactly how I used my visions and my imagination to literally just become successful. Because I knew how, I was going to be successful. It was just a lack of actually doing it. Right? I could actually see myself being successful. So that means it was going to happen. Right? In my subconscious mind, I knew that I could be successful. It was just certain habits that I sort of had to do every single day to lead up to that. And that's what led me to lose these 40 pounds, almost 45 pounds now. That's exactly how I was able to lose this weight. There was nothing special. There was no secret, nothing. I knew what I had to do deep down. I just had to ask myself, what would the successful version of myself be doing right now? That's it. That's literally it. The only reason why I'm in the position I am right now, where I lost 45 pounds almost, is because I started acting like my future self. Right? The reason why it might be so shocking to you of what I do on a daily basis, because you're thinking like your current self. You're thinking like all of these habits that I do on a daily basis are crazy, because that's exactly how I used to think. If you were to tell me that I was doing an hour and 10 minutes of cardio when I was 185 pounds, or even at my heaviest at 190, I wouldn't even believe you. I would not believe you at all, because I was doing 0. And now I'm doing an hour and 10 minutes. Like, I would just not believe you at all. But you see that difference? Like, now obviously I didn't just go straight to doing an hour and 10 minutes of cardio, but I started incorporating those small habits. I started off by doing 20 minutes, then that got easy, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and I just kept building my way up, and I started becoming more and more successful. So when I look back to the way I used to be, that's exactly why I was stuck there for so long, because I wasn't thinking like my future self. I wasn't thinking like the successful version of myself and what he would be doing on a daily basis. The current habits that you have right now led you to being out of shape, or whatever the case is. The reason why you're not seeing the results or the progress is because you keep moving on a day-to-day basis like your current self. So what you need to do is ask yourself, what would the successful version of myself be doing right now in this current moment? Would he do this or would he do that? Most likely, the thing that you have to do is something that you've never done before, and it scares you, and it should. But the thing is, that's exactly what's going to cause you to progress. So back then, obviously, if you would have told me that I was doing an hour and 10 minutes of cardio, I would have not believed you, because it's just an insane number. But you have to start building up to that. In order to see the results you want to, you have to start slowly becoming that successful version of yourself. The only way you're going to actually become that successful version you envision in your head is if you start incorporating the things that he would do on a daily basis. Now, this varies person to person, but to me, I literally applied this mindset to my business as well now. But that's exactly how I got in shape. I got in shape and I lost all this weight because I started doing the daily habits that I knew I needed to do. When I was 185 pounds or even 190, And I was just stuck there, and I was just like asking myself, how am I ever going to get in shape? And I used to see these people online doing all these crazy routines and diets and cardio or whatever. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be doing that. But you don't have to instantly just start doing that. You have to slowly work your way up to that. You have to slowly start incorporating yourself into becoming that version of yourself, right? That's the only way you're going to progress and get stronger. You don't just immediately get to the destination. I didn't just immediately get to doing an hour and 10 minutes of cardio, or tracking all my food the way I do now, or doing the things I do on a daily basis just like that. I had to slowly work my way up to it and actually progress, because I started doing stuff that I'd never done before, right? And the only way I can stick to that is if I slowly work my way up to it and start getting better and better every single day. It's called progression. Instead of focusing on the destination, focus on the progress and what you need to do on a daily basis to get to that level. You will never ever be successful if you can't see yourself becoming successful. First, imagine yourself. What does success look like for you? Because your success probably looks different than mine. But the thing is, you need to ask yourself, what is the successful version of myself doing? What does he look like? How am I going to get there? Write down all these thoughts, or just have these visions in your head and have these habits for yourself. Start small and work your way up. That's all I have to say. Instead of thinking, oh, like I'm never going to become that successful version of myself that I keep having. Like, you're thinking about it for a reason. You know you can make it happen. Your mind is a very powerful tool. If you can imagine it, then you can obviously go make it happen. And if you keep thinking about it, obviously it's going to happen one day if you start acting on it. Whenever you really want something, you literally make it happen regardless. When you were a little kid and you begged your parents for a toy, when you were a little kid and you really wanted a toy, you begged your parents until you got it. And eventually you got it, you made it happen. Or if you want to really convince someone, or if you're trying to get into a relationship with someone and you really want to make it work, you do everything you possibly can to make it happen. So that it's the same thing that applies to when you have to get in shape and actually see results and be like successful. If you can imagine yourself getting in shape and seeing the body you want, you will literally do whatever it takes to get to that position. And you have to keep imagining it every single day. You should obviously be acting on it, but if you keep imagining it every single day, you start moving like that successful version of yourself on a day-to-day basis, and eventually the results are just going to show. Become obsessed with the successful version of yourself. Stop thinking like your current self. Always, always, always program your mind to think like your successful version of yourself. The person that is in shape, what is he doing? How is he moving? How is he acting? What does he do? What does he look like? Always think ahead. Become obsessed with that version. Stop thinking like your current self, because your current self and the way you've been thinking so far has led you to being out of shape, has led you to being stuck, has led you to never being successful. You need to start thinking outside the box and start thinking like the successful version of yourself, and then it will come to you, because you become so obsessed with it that you literally make it happen by doing the things that you need to do to become that person. And then you just become mentally so much stronger as well. Old habits that you used to do, they don't ever, come into your head. You become so strong and you become so much mentally more clear, that doing the good habits that is like the successful version of yourself will be doing becomes natural, becomes your new normal. And then as you become more and more obsessed, that's exactly when the progress will show. So those thoughts you have, those visions of yourself of being in shape, that's a good thing. Use that imagination. Let that imagination be something you're chasing on a day-to-day basis and start acting on it. Don't just imagine it and then just go back to living the way you used to. You're having those thoughts because you want to make it happen so bad. All you have to do is start small and start building your way up to that imagination. If you really want it, you're going to think about it every single day. And that imagination is exactly what I used to think about every single day. Every single day, I used to imagine myself being in shape, losing all the weight, seeing my abs, seeing veins, seeing definition, finally feeling confident in myself. And I just became so obsessed with it that I just started doing the same habits that the successful version of myself would be doing. And I eventually got it. I eventually just kept getting stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And here I am, almost done with this 6-month-long diet, 45 pounds later. Now I'm finally, seeing my abs, seeing the veins, seeing the definition and everything. And now the next journey is going to begin soon. And what am I going to do? I'm going to start acting like the successful version of myself. I'm not going to get comfortable and keep thinking like how I am right now. That's really all I have to say. That's exactly how, I was able to do this. You guys think that, what I do on a daily basis is just crazy or insane. It's really not. I just kept working my way up to it because I thought about it every single day. And I know you have those thoughts too. You think exactly how I think, but the thing is, I just kept, doing the small things and they just kept adding up over time. I kept doing, you kept watching, and that's really it. That's really it. I've come a long way. It's not been easy. And these last 2.5 weeks are killing me. But I know that the successful version of myself that waits at the end of these 2.5 weeks, he pushes through. He makes it. So, I'm not going to let all this work go to waste. And I finally have left that old version of me in the past. I don't even think like that old version of me anymore. It's very uncomfortable right now, and I don't want to finish, these last 2.5 weeks. But the thing is, I don't want to go back. That scares me more. That's more uncomfortable. It's more uncomfortable for me to go back to my old self than it is to finish these last 2.5 weeks. And it's as simple as that. That's really all I have to say. Start using your imagination and let it, fuel you. Chase that imagination. Your mind is a very powerful thing, and you can make anything happen. All you have to do is just act and use it in a good way, and the progress will come, I promise you. It just takes small steps that will compound over time. You don't need to get to the destination right away. You just have to start acting like it and thinking like it and ditch your old identity. That's it. That's all I want to leave to you. Just stop thinking like your current self and start thinking like your future self. That's all I want to say. Would you do this? Would you do that? That's it. And that's exactly how you're going to start doing things that you never thought you could do before.